Mr. Michał Malinowski.
I would like to share with you the story, the love story with the story. It began in a deep forest in Papua New Guinea when I was in '97. I was invited in a village for the feast from the sea torture, and then whole village gathered around the fire. And then 2 old men started to tell story. They spoke about the sea and the people. And suddenly the bell rang. Ding! And the people replay, dong! Ding! Bong! Bing! 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 And they started to sing, they dance. The whole village participate in the creating of the story. Old man, he was telling a story, and suddenly they stopped in the seaside, and all village shared the wind. They created the wind. They created different universe. It was an amazing experience. And then, there in Papua New Guinea, I realized I discovered 2 ideas. The first one was a very simple one. But it was the idea that the culture is something alive. Yes, it's something alive. And by visiting the museums, I discovered that the museums are just the depository of objects, still objects, enclosed in a glass cases. Nothing alive. Everything still and sometimes stinky. So I realized that to present the culture is not the right way. How the visitor who discovered the ethnographical museum full of objects, full of masks, of musical instruments, without sound, without stories, what this visitor can have in a mind? What type of experience he can have? I visited many museums. There were masks from Burkina Faso, close to the mask from the Nigeria, or close to the mask from Congo. One mask was the funeral one, another one was a wedding mask, and another one was a ceremony mask. But the visitor just could discover that this mask is an art object, just could perceive it from the aesthetic perspective. But there were no explanation. What is the meaning of the mask? What is the meaning of the stories the society the mask came from shares? So, I decided to create my own museum based on the idea of new technology. Because with new technology, you can bring the sound, you can bring the movement into the museum. You can create an amazing experience for the visitor and to display the culture from a completely opposite side than just showing the still object. I started the Storyteller Museum. Museum full of wisdom from all over the world. Wisdom transmitted throughout the stories. And I returned to Poland and built a house. And in the house, 300 square meters I devoted to the museum. And I started inviting people from all over the world to sharing their stories. I invited, and I am inviting, storytellers from Africa, from Asia, from Papua New Guinea, from North America to sharing their stories. And I try to make this storytelling revival movement in Poland. I'm trying to create a collection of stories from all over the world using new technology. There are so many brilliant people here who are aware how we can use technology in a creative way, in a way that we can create an experience for the visitor completely different from this still experience of present museum. Another idea I got around the fire in Papua New Guinea was the story itself. The amazing power of the story. Story which can create peace. The story which can transmit wisdom. The story which can create collaboration in between people. Bing, bang, bing. That's amazing. When the people are gathering together and they are dreaming together. Yes, for the true collaboration we need this tide. Yeah, we have to be bound by the common dream. And when we are telling a story, we are dreaming together. The story has no bones, but the story can destroy a lot of bones. Why there are many people so afraid of stories? Or the people who are creating fake stories to make fear in our hearts. Yes, but we are looking for good stories, voices of our ancestors. As Amadou Hampate, a master from Mali, wise person from Africa, said, "An old man who dies is like a library which burns." That my call is, yes, we have to protect and preserve old stories and all oral wisdom from all over the world. Because this is rich. This is rich. And we have to protect this richness to the next generations. So I hope we can share the love for the story together.
This was meant to happen at the beginning of his talk, but these fire regulations I mentioned, we got somewhat concerned, but apparently it's okay. Thank you.
So I want to add, if there is a light, I just want to say one African proverb which says that even a small candle can enlight a huge light. So I think that we can bring this and share this wisdom to others. And there is one amazing thing with the story, that we can share the wisdom without losing anything. Yes, more you give, more you receive. And this is the same with the story. More you share the story, more the stories you receive back. This is the beginning of the gift society.
Master Joe Campbell, whom I'm sure you know very well, wherever he is now, used to say that stories are about the most important thing that we can bring into a room full of people, into a conversation. I think possibly these days stories are more important than ever for all sorts of reasons. How are you finding that the connection between ancient stories and modern stories in the context of what you're doing with your museum?
So I found that these ancient stories are valid. I am organizing different workshops, storytelling workshops. I'm working with kids, and I give these traditional motifs of stories. And I said, okay, let's create stories, but put them into the modern context. And there are amazing stories appearing. There is no king, but there is a ruler. And sometimes the stories are very political ones. Sometimes the stories are really telling the truth about our everyday life, but they are really good in our modern context.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.